Give us your full name and when you were born.
My name is Jataun Valentine, and I was born the second month of 1637. My mother's family was in Venice. My father's family was in East LA. And we stayed in Los Angeles for about a couple of years. And then we came to Venice, which to me has always been home. My cousin Joyce Elaine Giles, Kathy Wolf, they lived in the neighborhood. They were relatives. The Wolfs were cousins on my grandfather's, and Joyce Elaine is my first cousin on my grandmother's side, Jenny Tabor. My grandfather's name was A.J. Alphonse Joseph Henry. He was the first black cement contractor in Venice. In fact, I have his original license.
Why did he move to Venice? Do you know?
He moved to Venice because his cousin Arthur Reese, he worked on the railroad, and he said that they were building a canal and there's plenty of work in Venice.
Well, Abbot Kinney was a progressive thinker because his idea was that he didn't care about color. He wanted the right people for the right job.
That's the reason why Arthur Reese told his cousin about Venice, and you know, several of them worked for Abbot Kinney, and he was really a very good boss. In fact, one time he had Arthur Reese decorate the float for the Rose Parade, and they won an award.
He also did all those great costumes, the big heads for
the
Mardi Gras.
Yeah, for Mardi Gras. Yes, he did. And then one of his cousins, my great uncle Irvin Tabor, he was walking on the pier, and one day Abbot Kinney was walking, and he said that he needed a chauffeur. So Irvin said, "Oh, I'll fly. I could drive," but he couldn't drive. But so he had a friend at work at the Ford Motor Company, and he taught him to drive. In fact, Abbot Kinney ended up, after him and his wife had passed away, giving him the house, which is still there, not in the valley anymore, but the house is still there. 709 Vernon. My grandfather, Alphonse Henry, he's Indian and black, but he's dark. And my grandmother, Jenny Tabor Henry, her mother was Irish and her father was black, but they're very light. And so the people on Vernon thought it was a black man married to a white lady, and practically everybody on that street belonged to the KK Ku Klux Klan. I was young. That was during my mother's age. And like I said, I just explained about how they thought that was a black man and a white lady getting married, and they burned that cross. So the people who couldn't take it, they left, and the other ones stayed, and they said that they used to call him Mr. A.J. Alphonse Joseph, and his family are nice people, and they got along. They never had any more problems.
So did your grandfather stay in the house after the cross was burned?
Yes, he stayed because, you know, he was the man of the house, and he had all those kids, and he figured pretty soon they'll figure out he's a nice man just trying to raise his family. My earliest memories of Venice, that was quiet, that we were never afraid to venture from where we lived to the beach here and never had no problems. It was in the days when if you see the men, they would tip their hat. I always thought that was pretty cool.
What was different about Venice from the other neighborhoods, like back in the 50s and 60s?
What was different is that a lot of what I call the pioneer families, like my family, they still stayed. And so from generation to generation. And then the other people that came in, you know, they weren't there that long. I would go to a meeting and somebody would say, "Oh, I've been here 10 years." I said, "Well, we've been in Venice now. How many generations?" I said, "More than that."
So you have a commitment to Venice?
Yes, I have, because Venice was good to my family. How I mean is that all the neighbors recognized that this was just a good, hard-working family and very friendly, and their desire was like to have a home, you know, a house.
Do you remember when Pace came in?
I remember that. In fact, my cousin, she got a letter about a meeting, and she said to me, "You girls," and she meant me and my sister Jackie, "you need to go to this meeting." So we went to the meeting, and then they were talking about this Pace Proco. And we found that the police had something to do with it, and that then they started inspectors going around, and let's say somebody had a box in the window with some flowers, they'd write them up, "Oh, that's messing with you, how you breathe." Or they had a bandit car, but they mostly went to people of color and elderly, and say, "Well, your house needs to be painted, you need to take that off," and stuff like that. And, you know, these people didn't have much money, you know. And remember, some of these people were elderly people, and they had been through a lot. They had been through segregation, depression, and you know, it was easy to frighten them. But we stopped a lot of people, and we helped them to, you know, to fix the problem, so the inspectors would sign off that it's fixed. We did stop a lot of people from selling, but I think if we had not done nothing, most of those people would have sold their house and sold it for nothing. I became involved with Venice Community Housing because at first I was hearing bad things about it, and I decided I really want to find out if what they're being saying is true. And so I was asked to be on the board, and so that's when I found Venice, those things that people were saying was not true. And Venice Community Housing, I think they're doing a wonderful job, like especially the TLC, where like women who have a child and want to try to do better, you know, get a job and get out of you know, public housing. And I was on the board for over 20 years. That's how much I believed in it. I wouldn't have stayed if I didn't believe what they're doing. The ENAC was Lanny Williams, whose real name is Cecilia Williams, myself, Jataun Valentine, Cynthia Fenton was on that. VNAC was good because we only saw problems that as they came up. I told Laddie, we're going to be working till we die. There's always a problem. How I met Laddie was I was wanting to know about some of the people that elderly that had been in Venice a long time, because I used to see her grandfather, Henry Williams. In fact, my sister Jackie said, because he was over 100, she said, Mr. Henry Williams. I said, okay, Mr. And so I went by his house. Laddie and I started talking every time we seen him. We go to each other's houses, and we became good friends. I'm still a good friend to her now. One time, there was a meeting at the park, so Laddie Williams and I, talking to Mike Bonner, he claimed, and I'm still going to say claim because I don't believe it. He said that he had a meeting, and we finally said, okay, well, I tell you what, we'll let you have a meeting, and you could go first, but we cut his time. and we had more time for ourselves when it was time for us. So I don't think he won. We won that one. You can make a difference, but you have to be committed to it, because nothing happens in a day. And people might say, oh, you'll never get this done. You never give up until the problem is settled the right way. And I had made my mind up that I love Venice, and whatever comes up, I want to try to do the best I can to help that situation. People who have never been to Venice should know that there's still some families in Venice. It's not just homeless people on Venice Beach. There's more to it. You know, you have to go through changes, but you still can't beat Venice weather.